Hello there. Hope your weekend's off to a good start. I kind of think the weekend starts on Thursday, but that's just me. Thursday night, especially. Hey, listen, welcome to the Bernie Miklasz Show here on YouTube. As always, I appreciate your support very much. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for getting the word out. And thanks for hitting that like button. So I'll quit thanking you, at least until the end of the video. Listen, maybe I would apologize in advance. I wasn't looking to do another video on Nolan Arenado, please trust me. But after some new reporting from the splendid Katie Wu at The Athletic, I wanted to jump in here with some reaction because I actually thought there was some news that had not been revealed until Katie came up with it. And her reporting is trustworthy. Really have a lot of respect for her. So she's good. And she nails the information down before she reports it. So according to her reporting, at the beginning of the Arenado saga, he gave the Cardinals a list of 5 teams that he'd approve for a trade. There was some bad reporting, not by her. There was some bad reporting or speculation that the Angels were on his list. In fact, I repeated that speculation, so that's bad on me. I didn't confirm it independently. I didn't think it was a big deal, but I second-guessed myself for not confirming that independently, although people were being pretty tight-lipped about that. Anyway, in reality, the 5 teams were Dodgers, Red Sox, Yankees, Padres, and Astros. Oh, wait a minute. What? The Astros? Didn't Arenado veto the Houston deal that was in the final stages of being completed way back when? See, John Mozeliak had operated under the assumption, understandably, that Arenado would go to Houston. So he went to work to try to make a trade with someone on that list, and Houston was enthusiastic about it. And the Cardinals were going to pay 25% of his remaining contract. So I don't know what the Cardinals would receive in return, but it does not matter. It does not matter because Arenado flipped on his initial decision to include Houston on his list, and then he rejected the trade. Look, as I've said a bunch of times, and most of you all have said the same, Arenado had a contractual right. He has a contractual right to decline any trade brought to him. I will stand by him on that all the way. It doesn't mean I can't or you can't or shouldn't question his thought process. I think we have the right to do that. And even though John Mozeliak is despised by a large percentage of Cardinals fans, and there's certainly a ton of things to criticize him for, I'm not sure what he was supposed to do in this case or in the cases with any of these teams. I mean, was he supposed to take people hostage and force them to make a trade and send like a SWAT team into Houston? No, send a SWAT team into LA to the Dodgers offices, go have like an arm, like a small militia go into Yankee Stadium to take Brian Cashman, grip him by the lapels and force him to make a trade for Arenado. I mean, please, let's not be silly here, okay? I don't have any problem ripping Mozeliak on a lot of things, but not on this one. Arenado said at the beginning of the process, yeah, the Astros, sure, they're on the list. And Mozeliak proceeded accordingly. And when Mozeliak worked out that deal that was predicated solely on Arenado's own wish list, then Arenado said, nope. So at that point, what were the trade options? The Dodgers said no. And I get the idea they probably said no many times over, and they were emphatically polite but emphatic about it. No, no, no. Max Muncy's their third baseman, and he should be. And the Dodgers have more infielders than they know what to do with, which is why they traded Gavin Lux. The Padres said no. They weren't going to move Manny Machado off third base to make room for Arenado. And even if I know Arenado put it out there that he would be willing to play first base, but even if the Padres were open to that idea, again, it didn't matter because they have to hold the line on cost because of an ownership dispute. They did have room in their budget to add a starting pitcher, and they did at a cost of $55 million. But their payroll is going to be down again for the second year in a row. The Red Sox were the last potential payoff. And, well, I should mention the Yankees made some inquiries, but if this was true, what was reported, because I did not confirm it independently, But the idea that the Yankees told the Cardinals, well, we'll talk to you about this, but you have to be willing to take Marcus Stroman. I'm not going to get into this all over again. I can come up with 10 reasons why it would have been stupid for the Cardinals to trade for Marcus Stroman. And if some of you disagree with that, that's fine. But I give the Cardinals credit if, in fact, that was the Yankees' demand. I give Mozeliak credit for just probably laughing in the phone. But anyway, that left the Red Sox as the last potential payoff. But they were waiting for Alex Bregman to make his decision on free agency. If he signed elsewhere, the Cardinals and the Red Sox were up next. Chance it's good they were going to get something done. But Bregman signed with Boston. The end. According to Wu, other teams checked in with the Cardinals and Arenado, Royals, Tigers, Angels, Mariners, but Arenado wasn't going to go to any of those places. So I don't care that they called. Once again, is John Mozeliak supposed to send a security force to Arenado's home to make him waive the no trade clause? I don't know why this stuff is so difficult to accept, right? I'm sorry. I'm trying to be a good boy and be patient, but I don't understand why it's kind of hard to get that through our thick skulls, because I have a thick skull too. So why did Arenado say no to the Astros? Well, he didn't say no immediately, if you remember. He wanted time to think about it, mull it over, ponder everything, consider it again. He didn't want to be rushed. Okay, again, that's his right. But in the middle of all this, the Astros traded their best player, Kyle Tucker, to the Cubs, and they were also shopping Ryan Presley, who was dealt to the Cubs on January 28th. In other words, so this was all in the news, the scuttlebutt about, Tucker getting traded and then probably one of their better relievers getting traded. And the timing really mattered. I mean, the Cubs and the Astros announced the Tucker trade on December the 13th. And on December the 18th, Arenado said no to the trade on the table. I wonder if the Arenado to Houston trade would have gone through if the Astros still had Tucker. It's hard for me to speculate, because even if that trade wasn't made before the season, you got to think with the money that Tucker is going to be getting, which is why the Astros wanted to move him before the season. They knew they weren't going to have a chance to re-sign him. But even if they didn't make the trade before the season, I think Arenado was smart enough to figure out there was a really good chance he would be traded at the trade deadlines. Some team just to get his bat in the lineup and maybe get a head start on trying to re-sign him. Either way, Arenado would have a contract that with Houston that ran through 2027, no matter what direction the Astros took, whether it be to his liking or to not to his liking, he still would be under contract to them through 2027. So I can understand why he'd have some hesitation about going to Houston if he didn't trust what the Astros had in mind, if he didn't have that confidence in the Astros and which direction they would be taking, not just this year, but subsequent years. Because he went through the experience with the Cardinals. I mean, he trusted the Cardinals when he pushed for a trade here, and it didn't turn out the way he expected. They made the playoffs the first 2 years Arenado was here, and then the last 2 years, they were 22nd in the major leagues in win percentage. Listen, Arenado also had an offensive downturn the last 2 years, so at least he was a factor in the past 2 years, but it didn't work out the way that he had planned in this kind of version of what it would be like in St. Louis playing for the Cardinals. Mozeliak played it straight with Arenado. There wasn't any kind of trying to hide things. He even talked to Arenado late last season, told him what the Cardinals were going to do. Go younger, invest heavily in the farm system, the development system, bring on more staff, add major league coaches, add minor league instructors and coaches, get up to date on all the technology, huge upgrade of all the facilities. These things don't result in winning right away. And Arenado, soon to be 34, has the urgency to win a World Series, as we know. So Arenado was open to the idea of a trade, but it wasn't just like trade me. He made it clear. Mozeliak made it clear to him what the Cardinals' plans were, and he respected Arenado enough to just see if he would be good with those plans, or he would prefer maybe to go elsewhere to have a better chance to win right away. There was mutual respect shown here. And so Arenado, he was open to the idea of a trade, but as you know, man, it was only under certain circumstances. His circumstances had to be a contender, had to be in a market that matched the preferences of Arenado and his wife. and they have a 2-year-old daughter. So he just doesn't want to be picking up his family and moving willy-nilly. Despite what so many people seem to think, Nolan Arenado was not like wanting to escape St. Louis because he hated it. This part has just gotten way off track. Bill DeWitt said it. Arenado said it through his agent. Everyone has said it. If he has to stay in St. Louis, or if it leads to him staying in St. Louis, everybody was fine with that. But Mozeliak went to work, and just when a deal was on the verge of being consummated, and Nato changed his mind about Houston, he called the timeout, wanted to give it more thought. And part of the thinking was Arenado's obvious belief that another more desirable trade option would materialize. But that possibility, boom, blew up when Bregman picked the Red Sox. I'm not sure why. Maybe the only thing I second guess, I'm not sure why Arenado and his agent thought Houston would sit and wait at the risk of losing their plan B, free agent first baseman, Christian Walker. The Astros they were all but certain they were going to lose Bregman. So they were in a position to hit the market and get a replacement that would fit in. Walker playing first base. They also got Isaac Paredes in the Tucker trade. He could play either third or first or second. So they had flexibility. So they pivoted immediately from Arenado saying no to signing Christian Walker. And the Astros were clearly ticked off by Arenado's veto. Mozeliak was surprised and frustrated by Arenado's veto. Arenado had to be frustrated by his strategy in blocking Houston because he struck out when Bregman finally picked the Red Sox, which was the only option left. So I saw some remarks on social media, people making a big deal of the fact that they were all frustrated. Frustration was understandable. We do recognize that these people are human beings, right? Why wouldn't Arenado be frustrated? He said no to Houston. And when he said no to Houston, it set up a situation where it was going to be a lot more difficult to trade him. And it was all contingent upon one guy's decision, Bregman. And why wouldn't Mozeliak be frustrated? Arenado gave him a list and said, all right, here are my 5 teams, Mo. And when one of those 5 teams was ready to make a trade, Arenado, per his his contract protection, said, no, I'm not going to go there. No, nothing personal. I'm not going to go there. So another thing where there was a little bit of tizzy going on today, Wu reported that Mozeliak didn't speak directly for a few weeks after the Houston fiasco. So what? It means nothing. That's why agents are there for players. The teams go through the agents to communicate to the players, because the players probably don't want the general manager, the president of baseball operation, calling them all the time. And beside, what was there to report exactly? After he ixnayed the Astros trade, what exactly was there to discuss? What, like Mo's going to call Arenado every night and say, I just want to say hello. What? No, nothing's changed. Then the next night, hey, it's me again. There's nothing new to report. Just wanted to let you know. And then the third 2 days later, well, hey, hi, it's Mo. I wish I had some news, but there's really nothing that's changed. Just wanted to let you know. At that point, if this would go on for like days and days, and obviously it's facetious because it never would, but that just shows how ludicrous it is to make a big deal about this. If Mo was calling him and leaving voicemails or whatever, 4 or 5 days a week, if I were Arenado, I think I'd either block the number or get a new phone number. I mean, what? But, people are out there going nuts because, oh boy, they didn't speak. Agents handle that stuff. Anyway, it means nothing, because what exactly were they supposed to discuss? Arenado, his agent, Joel Wolf, and John Mozeliak, and even Bill DeWitt, for that matter, were all standing in a way in the same spot, waiting on Bregman. So, and we know how that turned out. Only 2 positive things in theory, at least to me, perhaps not to you, came out of this one. One, the Cardinals are a better team in 2025 with Arenado as their third baseman because, as we know, the reset's not a reset. The transition's not really a transition because they're largely returning the same team they had last year. But that wasn't their plan. They had to change their plan, in a way when Gray said no, Sonny Gray said no, I'm not, I want to stay here. Contreras said no, I want to stay here. Michaelis that, would have never left. He would have kept his no trade clause. And the fact that the team was unwilling to trade Helsley or Fetty. And they also thought that, things would be different. If you had moved a couple of those guys, two or three of those guys, including Arenado, it would have set up a different thought about 2025. So the Cardinals deviated from their plans because they've somehow talked themselves into this idea that they can be a really good team and a sneaky contender or something. So number one, given that the Cardinals have shifted in progress their stated goals for 2025, which are different now, they are a better team in 2025 with Arenado. I don't know what that means for 26 and 27, but in 2025, they're a better team with Arenado. And number two, Bill DeWitt Jr. changed his mind about cutting more payroll. You might remember earlier in the process, Mo told the Cardinals, Mozeliak told the media, that the Cardinals would have to chop payroll elsewhere if Arenado stayed. But DeWitt had a change of mind on that, change of heart, and told Mo, well, that's not necessary. And so by that measure, they weren't put in a position where they had to trade Fetty or they had to trade Helsley. And I think they wanted to keep Helsley for sure. And you know how I feel about both of those guys. I've talked about this a lot, so I apologize for doing it again. But briefly, I was in favor of trading both pitchers to secure some potential assets for the future. And that's still possible at the trade deadline. But there's also some risk in waiting until then. See, I wanted the Cardinals to take even a bigger step back, a bigger step back in 2025 so they could actually get a jump on the future, but they chose not to. And as I said the other day, I've been pushing for quite a while, both privately and also in some of my public work, that the Cardinals were letting their farm system fall apart, and they had fallen behind the industry standards in a lot of ways. The ways where we can't see it on the field, we're talking about the minor league system, the baseball operation, the player development, all of that stuff. I was a huge proponent of look, you're letting this thing fall apart. You have to make this better. And this is what you're supposed to believe in. It's why you had so much success. So what kind of flaming hypocrite would I be when they finally got around to saying, yeah, we got to do this? And it's like, oh, how dare you? No, I was an enthusiastic proponent of the Cardinals tearing down what they had in the minor leagues and starting over. And it costs a lot of money, despite what some people think. So I was good with that. If anything, I would have gone farther with it. So I guess you should be grateful that I'm not running the Cardinals. Well, you should be grateful about that anyway, because I would make a lot of mistakes. Anyway, look, Arenado and the Cardinals have made peace. That's the bottom line. And I'm not sure why they even had to make peace, considering there were absolutely no guarantees whatsoever made about a trade. I promise you, I guarantee you, Nolan, that we will trade you. No such promises were made. And anyway, as long as Arenado holds to that no trade clause, he can flex and he's got the power to say no. I don't think there are any bad guys here. I know that the others may be inclined to search for the devils and all that stuff. If Arenado screwed up by scuttling Houston, then he's got to live with it, and he is. If Arenado checked into camp with a great attitude, his focus is on baseball. He's got a lot of pride. He wants to be a hell of a lot better than he was last season. He was embarrassed by it. And he likes his teammates. And, it's not like he hates St. Louis. That's the thing that, again, he never said, I want out, period. He said, well, if you want to see what's out there, okay, I'll listen. That's all he said. So, and by the way, if Arenado still thinks about going elsewhere by the trade deadline, then I'll repeat something else I've said. He can boost his chances by hitting with a lot more authority in 2025. Might not happen. I think there's a chance that he'll be better. I think there's a chance, for example, the Fangraphs forecast, the system called ZiPS, they have Arenado slugging 425 this coming season. He slugged 394 last season. I think it's possible for him to get better. And I don't think I'm a loon for thinking that. There's some reasons to believe it, which I've talked about. But here's the deal. even if he re-energizes his trade market, maybe more teams are interested in him. Whatever team comes calling, no matter how many teams come calling, or if any teams come calling in a serious way, Arenado can still flex the no trade clause, the no trade card, and he can flex the no trade card, say no, veto everything, strike it down, forget it, not going. So then everything be back to square one, and then everybody would, be getting all hysterical again. You know what? I want to stop talking about this, and I know no one, threatened me with a derringer unless I did another Arenado video. But I think in wake of the news, the fact that he had Houston on his list and said no anyway, I thought that was newsworthy, and I thought I wanted to revisit this one more time. So all I can say, first exhibition game is tomorrow. Play ball. Play ball. The next time I'll be talking about Arenado in any extensive way is, number one, if there would be trade coming out of nowhere sometime in the next month or two. Number two, I'll always want to talk and write about his performance, how it's going, either good or bad, and then what it means as we get closer, what it means for the trade deadline. But I just want to focus on baseball. So give me a little slack with this video, but if I do another one just like this, rip me, blast me, right? Don't unsubscribe, but just rock 'em, sock 'em. You can rip me in the comment section, but not for this one. There was news. I had other plans today before the news. Anyway, I am going to try to do a video on Jordan Binnington and what he did for Team Canada last night, and I hope to get that done. I appreciate all of you, and thank you very much for watching the Bernie Miklasz Show here on YouTube.